Have you ever wondered how seamless sportswear is made? That's what I'm going to be sharing with you on this episode. Seamless essentially comes down to the method by which the garment is manufactured. The biggest difference in which seamless sportswear gets its name is in how the fabric itself is created. Where we have traditional cutting and sewing, where the factory itself would purchase a roll of fabric that is pre-dyed, and that would arrive at the factory, and we would have what are known as sewing patterns. All of those pieces are then overlaid on top of a traditional fabric roll, and those pattern pieces are cut out and then they are sewn together with a seamstress. Versus with seamless knitted sportswear, this uses advanced technology, and one of the most well-known factories or one of the most well-known procurers of that technology is called Santoni from Italy. And they create these circular knitting machines, and it's based on a series of needles that are arranged in a circular pattern. With seamless sportswear, that entire fabric is made on a singular tube in the factory, and then whatever is excess is cut out, and then everything is joined together. In general, seamless is extremely popular for sportswear because you end up allowing yourself to create garments that have minimal seams in them. At the same time, for mass manufacturing, seamless presents a great opportunity to automate the process of creating the garments, because the majority of the garment actually comes out in its finished state. Typically, a seamless factory would be based off of two parts. You'll have the client-facing part, which is essentially a showroom where the manufacturer can actually engage the customer, can show them their different items. Then you're going to have what is known as the technician room. This is typically going to be closer to the client-facing part of the factory, and the technician room is the most important room. With seamless, technicians are highly required because the seamless knitting machine essentially takes a software. With Santoni, it's called the iPolaris software, and that software allows the technicians to program in the design of the product. So if you want to have areas of ribbing, if you want to have your logo somewhere, this is the part where the technician is able to program that design into the machine. A smaller size factory might have no less than 50 machines. A medium-sized factory will have around 100 machines, and something larger than that might even have 200, 300 machines. Why are so many machines required in seamless knitting? Well, let's look at this. With seamless, one machine can make one garment at a time, and also one machine can make one diameter of tube at a time. So if you were to look at a garment like a legging, so each machine can only make one size of garment, especially if you want it knit on a tube. And this is where the challenge is presented, but this is where the opportunity is presented. The advantage here is that you have a much more efficient production method. So if something costs $12 with cut and sew, it might cost around $8 in seamless. And that comes with the advantages of mass production. So we've gone into the main production house of our seamless factory, and we're essentially seeing each machine creating a specific diameter of tube, and you might have 4 or 5 different machines running on a specific production run. So let's say you have an order of 500 leggings, and you've split up that 500 leggings across 3 sizes. Maybe you have a small, a medium, and a large. Each one of those sizes would require its own machine to run. And with Santoni, there's a variety of different circular knitting machines. Usually, a machine like this can make a legging every 6 to 7 minutes. So once the tubes are done, you typically find that a lot of the compositions of these kinds of garments tend to be a mix of nylon, polyester, and spandex. If you want a beautiful mix of soft and durable, but you also want 2 colors or melange colors in there. Well, why is this? This is going to come down to the dyeing methods, which we're going to discuss in the next steps. Once you have the tube, the workers collect the tubes and they'll hang them all up in a hanging position at the end of the facility. These tubes are then ready to be moved onto the dyeing process. With seamless manufacturing, you're able to dye the entire piece of fabric before it's cut and sewn. Once the garment is dyed, then we're able to move into the finishing, the cutting and sewing. Next, now that we have the finished garment, what are some of the main processes of ensuring quality control that we typically see in seamless? Well, there's 3 main things that we typically tend to see. First one is abrasion. At the same time, we have a stretch and recovery test. And then lastly, you definitely want to look at your moisture wicking test. So what are the pros and cons of seamless sportswear when compared to traditional cutting and sewing? Well, let's look at some of the pros. Ultimately, with seamless sportswear, we have much more control over the finished garment in terms of the level of compression in different zones by being able to implement different knit structures. And you can truly make each garment a true masterpiece and a one of one. 2, you're typically going to get a better price per unit if you're able to achieve economies of scale and you're able to tap into their minimum order quantities, which means better margins on a product. 3, you're really going to be able to customize the end product specifically for your use through color, through branding, because you have full control over how the garment is designed. Also, there's a minimization of mistakes. But what are the cons here? A lot of seamless facilities are unable to take on lower quantity orders simply because it's just not worth their time or their effort. I've traveled the world and met various seamless manufacturers. I've pulled in hundreds and hundreds of orders from my customers over the last 7 years, and I've been able to build up phenomenal relationships with manufacturers that I trust and that we work with every single day to create a variety of different designs. So with Fittdesign, you're able to get access to this premium manufacturing at a fraction of the minimum order quantities that some of the legacy brands are able to access. So if you're interested in working with seamless manufacturing, check the link in the description. We basically offer full design, development, and production solutions for all types of sportswear, not just seamless, but especially seamless if you're interested in it. So check out the link in the description. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please consider smashing a massive thumbs up. It really does help us out. It keeps us motivated to keep pumping out this content for you. And I say this from the very bottom of my heart. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Fittdesign TV. Until next week's episode, stay awesome.